Every morning at 6:47 a.m., the alarm rang in Marcus Reed's small apartment in Cleveland, Ohio. And every morning, Marcus hit snooze. Not once, not twice, but 5 times. At 7:20, he finally rolled out of bed. Already late, already tired, already angry at himself. Marcus was 34 years old. He had a decent job, a roof over his head, and food in the fridge. From the outside, his life looked fine. But inside, he felt like he was wasting his life, one day at a time. This wasn't the life he had planned. He used to dream big. He wanted to start his own business, to create something meaningful. He wanted to be fit, confident, and respected by his peers. He wanted to look in the mirror and feel a sense of pride. Instead, his days were filled with a running list of excuses. I'll start next Monday. I just don't have the energy right now. Life is harder for people like me. Every night, as he lay in bed, Marcus would promise himself that tomorrow would be different. Tomorrow, he would wake up early. Tomorrow, he would go to the gym. Tomorrow, he would start working on his business plan. But every tomorrow looked exactly the same as the day before. What hurt the most wasn't the fear of failure. It was the crushing realization that he never even tried long enough to fail. He was stuck in a cycle of good intentions and zero action. One evening, Marcus attended his younger sister Emily's graduation party. She was absolutely glowing. You could feel her confidence and hope radiating from across the room. People gathered around her, praising her discipline, her focus, and her consistency. She had set a goal and achieved it, and everyone was celebrating her for it. Then, someone turned to Marcus and asked casually, "So Marcus, what's next for you?" He felt his stomach tighten. He forced a smile and managed to say, "I'm figuring things out." The words felt hollow as they left his mouth. That night, driving home alone, those words echoed in his head. Figuring things out. He'd been figuring things out for 10 years. 10 years of planning, dreaming, and waiting for the perfect moment that never came. He was no closer to his goals than he was a decade ago. Stopped at a red light, Marcus glanced at his reflection in the rearview mirror. His eyes looked tired, defeated, disconnected from the person he wanted to be. For the first time, he let the raw, honest truth surface. He said it out loud, his voice barely a whisper in the quiet car. "I don't trust myself anymore." That single sentence broke something inside him. It wasn't an excuse. It wasn't a justification. It was a diagnosis. He had broken so many promises to himself that he no longer believed his own words. He didn't trust himself to wake up on time. He didn't trust himself to follow a diet. He didn't trust himself to pursue his dreams. And in that moment of brutal honesty, he knew something had to change. The pain of staying the same had finally become greater than the fear of change. That night wasn't the end of his story. It was the beginning of his real journey. If Marcus's story resonates with you, if you've ever felt that disconnect between who you are and who you want to be, you're not alone. This is a journey many of us face, but recognizing it is the first, most powerful step. Marcus was stuck. He felt like he was watching his life from the sidelines, a spectator to his own failures. He tried everything: new diets, intense workout plans, productivity hacks, but nothing ever stuck. The initial burst of motivation would always fade, leaving him right back where he started, feeling even worse than before. Deep down, he knew the truth. It wasn't a lack of talent or intelligence. It was a lack of discipline. One afternoon, feeling particularly lost, Marcus wandered into a small, quiet bookstore he'd never noticed. An elderly man with kind eyes stood behind the counter. Marcus browsed, his fingers tracing the spines of books until one caught his eye. The Power of Habit. As he picked it up, the old man smiled. "Good choice," he said. "That book can change lives if you actually apply it." Marcus gave a weak laugh. "I've read a lot of books. None of them have changed me." The old man's smile didn't falter. "That's because books don't change people," he said, his voice gentle but firm. "Habits do." Marcus was taken aback. "What do you mean?" he asked. The man leaned in slightly. "Motivation is an emotion. It comes and goes like the weather. But habits are the architects of your character. They shape who you become, day by day. But I've tried to change, Marcus confessed, the words heavy with past failures. I just can't stay consistent. The man nodded knowingly. That's the trap. You're trying to change your entire life all at once. Instead, you need to change your habits, one tiny piece at a time. As Marcus paid for the book, the old man offered one last piece of advice, a sentence that would echo in Marcus's mind for days. Start so small it feels almost pointless, then repeat it daily. No matter how you feel, the next morning, the dreaded alarm went off. Marcus's hand automatically moved to hit the snooze button, a ritual of defeat he knew all too well. But then, the old man's words surfaced. Start so small it feels pointless. So, he made one simple decision. He wasn't going to work out. He wasn't going to meditate or journal. He was just going to get out of bed the moment the alarm rang. That was it. It felt awkward, uncomfortable, almost laughably small. But he did it. He stood up, and in that small act, something shifted. Nothing magical happened that day, but for the first time in years, Marcus had kept a promise to himself. A tiny promise, but a promise nonetheless. The next day, he did it again. And the day after that, a week later, he added another habit. Just 5 minutes of walking every morning. Not a full workout, just a short walk around the block. Then, he started drinking a glass of water before his morning coffee. Then, he started making his bed. Then, he started writing just one single sentence in a notebook each day. They were tiny habits, almost invisible, but he did them with daily discipline. About 3 weeks in, life append. He missed a day. Then, another. The old, familiar voice of self-doubt whispered in his ear. See, you always quit. You're a failure. But this time was different. Instead of letting the spiral of guilt pull him under, Marcus just started again the next day. No drama. No self-punishment. He simply got back on track. He was learning that consistency isn't about being perfect. It's about not quitting when you're imperfect. Months passed. The tiny habits started to stack, like bricks building a solid foundation. Getting up on time led to more morning walks. The walks cleared his head, leading to more focused work. The single sentence in his journal turned into paragraphs, then pages. Marcus wasn't just building habits, he was rebuilding his identity. He was becoming the person who shows up for himself, the person who keeps his promises. His life hadn't changed overnight with a grand gesture. It was changing slowly, almost imperceptibly, through the quiet, steady rhythm of daily discipline. He was learning that real transformation isn't an event. It's a process. It's not about finding motivation. It's about building a system. It's about choosing to lay one brick perfectly every single day. And in the end, that's how you build a life you're proud of. Marcus stood in front of his bathroom mirror, feeling a familiar wave of disappointment. He was stuck. His goals felt miles away, and motivation was a flickering candle in the wind. He'd tried everything. Vision boards, goal-setting workshops, motivational podcasts. Nothing stuck. He felt like a failure. That evening, he stumbled upon a simple, powerful idea. Just take action. It didn't have to be perfect. It just had to happen. So, he decided to try something different. Instead of trying to change his whole life overnight, he picked one small thing. He would go for a 10-minute walk. Every single morning. No excuses. The first week was a battle. His alarm would go off, and his mind would scream, just 5 more minutes. But he'd force himself out of bed and out the door. Some days the walk was energizing. Other days, it felt like a total chore. He even missed a day, and the guilt almost made him quit. But then he remembered something he read. Discipline isn't about never failing. Discipline is about how quickly you get back on track after you fail. So, the next day, he put on his shoes and went for his walk. He didn't beat himself up. He just returned to the habit. Slowly, almost without him noticing, things began to shift. The 10-minute walk became a non-negotiable part of his day. His body started to feel a little stronger, and his mind felt a little clearer in the mornings. He found he had a bit more energy. Buoyed by this small win, he decided to add another habit. He started reading for just 15 minutes before bed. At first, his mind would wander, but he kept at it. Then, he started tidying his desk for 5 minutes before logging off work. These habits were tiny, almost insignificant on their own, but they started to stack up, creating a foundation of consistency. His confidence grew, not with a loud bang, but with a quiet, steady hum. No one else noticed the changes at first, but Marcus did. He felt it. About 2 months later, his manager pulled him aside after a team meeting. "Marcus," she said, "I've noticed a change in you lately. You've been more focused, more relieved. Your work has been really consistent. I like that." Marcus was genuinely surprised. He just nodded, but inside, a feeling of pride swelled up. He hadn't been aiming for a promotion or a praise. He'd just been focusing on his daily actions. At home, he noticed other changes too. His apartment was consistently cleaner, not because of a big weekend cleaning session, but because of small, daily habits. He was sleeping deeper. His thoughts felt calmer, less chaotic. He realized he wasn't chasing that fleeting feeling of motivation anymore. He was building discipline, and discipline was changing everything. 6 more months went by. Marcus no longer felt like he was relying on raw willpower to get things done. His habits carried him forward. The morning walk had become a morning run. Reading before bed was something he looked forward to. And he'd even started working on that business idea he'd been dreaming about for years, just 1 hour every day. It wasn't a massive effort, but it was consistent. One evening, Marcus found himself standing in front of the mirror again. He looked at his reflection. The man staring back wasn't perfect, not by a long shot. But he looked different. He looked proud. He looked like someone who trusted himself again, and that's when Marcus understood the most profound lesson of all. It's a lesson that most people never learn. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems and your habits. Motivation is what gets you started. It's the spark. But discipline is what sustains you through the long haul. And ultimately, your habits are what define you. If you feel stuck in your life right now, don't try to change everything all at once. That's a recipe for burnout. Instead, change one small habit. Just one. Repeat it every single day, no matter how you feel. Let discipline do the rest, because the incredible power of a habit doesn't just change your day, it fundamentally changes who you become. Thanks for watching. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more content on building a better life, one habit at a time. See you in the next one.